Hello and welcome to soccercoachingblog.com. This is part 2 of the interview with Coach Ralph Perez from the University of Redlands. So over to Coach Perez and let's talk soccer. Alright, so there's some great advice already, Ralph. Let's build upon that. If you were giving some advice to a brand new rec coach that's a little boy or little girl has been signed up for soccer for the first time, and you've got you've been volunteered to run practices for under-8s, boys and girls. Obviously, we don't get too technical, but what are the kind of things the coach should make sure they cover in every practice?
Well, I want to start first by saying coaching youth is the most difficult job.
Yes.
I think coaching higher level players on that pyramid of soccer is a much easier job. I think when you're talking about youth, and I still look at coaching as teaching, you just got to give them simple practices. And because one of their attention span, two because their lack of skill. So I think a big portion of the training session should always be about skill development, developing their level, their comfort with the ball, their confidence in being able to really learn how to kick a ball correctly. And then once they learn how to kick it correctly, then you teach them how to pass it correctly. And then from there, it's about, you know, the thing of soccer is that it's a game where it's always constant movement. So now you have to do this from a stationary thing. You teach it to some movement, then you have to then eventually introduce the opponent. It's very difficult for you rec coaches, and if you've never played the game, it makes it that much more difficult, because I think demonstration is a good way to always start an exercise with players, to let them see a picture of how it really looks in the final product, you know, the proper way. So if you can't do it, then I would encourage you to find a young player, whether it be at a high school age or a college player, or a parent maybe in the team that played collegiate soccer, to come out and help you a little bit. I think that also lowers that ratio of teaching to make it more suitable for you, because younger players need a lot of attention, younger players need a lot of correction. So I think from that standpoint, I find that that's important. And then I think also for you rec coaches is I would just not get worked up over saying I'm going to get this to be right. You're never going to see the final product until maybe he becomes or she becomes an older player, right, because of part of that growth and development. But I think what is important is setting a good foundation of the skills and working with them on every practice. And I would just designate one day, okay, we're going to work on dribbling, put some simple program together for them, and then at the end always let them play. And I think I take something from the Dutch a little bit here, where in their youth development they always kind of get things in groups of 4. You know, 4v4 is always a good one, so that they play. And you know, every team, it varies the numbers you have, but I think one of our biggest things is just letting the kids have always an opportunity to play and enjoy themselves.
Absolutely, that's great advice. Okay, so today we're here. Ralph gave us some time. He's here watching high school playoffs, looking for the next superstars for Redlands. If you were to be able to get a hold of a bunch of high school coaches or club coaches and say, okay, by the time we're getting them into the college game, we'd like them to be at this level. So what would you like high school or club coaches to focus on? Not necessarily win-loss records, but with their players. Do you want them to focus on their fitness or their touch or their mentality or their attitude? What are the things that you're looking for from a player when he's coming from high school out there on the field right now into your program?
Well, I think there's a couple of things we look at. I think everybody wants that. Everybody wants a complete player. Everybody wants a technical player, right, who's proficient under pressure and time and space of the opponent. You want a player who's obviously shows that why is he fit, because he probably takes good care of himself and he trains very diligently every day, because I think fitness is a very big and important component of the sport of soccer. And then what I have to watch all the time, and I think that's a big one for us at Redlands, is what is this player doing off the ball? How does he react to the transitional part of the game when his team has it and when his team loses it? We look at those, and obviously when we scout, that's why scouting live and seeing games is an important factor for us, right, because tape doesn't always provide that service for you. I think the other part, and it's a big part for us, probably something that sometimes either sways us to a player or sways us away from a player, is their mentality. The mentality of, you know, when we bring them in on a visit and we sit down with them, is just the questions that we ask them about parts of the game that we think are important at Redlands, and how they respond to that is important to us, because we want people who really want to work hard, people who never want to have a day go by that they're not training and doing something to improve their game of soccer in one way or another, whether it's weight training, whether it's conditioning, whether it's just going out playing with his teammates when they just have a kickabout. These are the kinds of things that are important, and I think for high school coaches, you know, you have them for that period of time, and then the club coaches take them over. So young players have an opportunity in our country now to play a good 9-month season. I wish we had that at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
So I think that it's important that coaches should always be trying to teach what I would say probably just the principles of play from the tactical side, and then what we really want is we want players who can deal with the ball in all parts of the field.
Okay, great, good answers there. So we'll have college coaches watching this as well, and just to use Redlands as an example, whenever my team, Whittier College, had played against Redlands, it was inspiring to us. The result wasn't necessarily inspiring to us the first couple of seasons, but the way the program was run, anything from when we arrived at the Redlands home field, the field was already set up immaculately, the balls were arranged correctly, the cones were ready, the pennies, the music was all set up. And as you enter their facility, you know it's a class act. It's intimidating, of course, and that's all part of the mentality, I'm sure. One of the things the Redlands players do when they enter the field at home and away, they enter in a long line holding hands, and that's kind of intimidating for teams as well. Can you tell me how that came about, Ralph?
That's simple. I inherited that from Coach Ralph Perez, my predecessor at University of Redlands. It was something that he felt the team should do, and I just kept it as a tradition. It's not something that, you know, probably if I had not come to Redlands and I was at somewhere else. I mean, the first time that I ever saw that in football was in the 1994 World Cup with Brazil. Yeah. And I had the great fortune of coaching and working with Mr. Perez for a year with the New York Metro Stars, and I asked him that question in 96, 97 actually, when I worked with him. And what he was trying to teach his players was that by going with hands locked, it was just making you as a group, as a bond, and you feed off each other's energy, and you try to get the mentality that it's you against the rest of the world. And whether we're playing at our home pitch or we're playing away, that we was trying to also get the players focused that this was now match day. And for us, we treat match day as something very, very special, just as you mentioned, our preparation for the field. But also we treat it as match day is the best part. I mean, that's what you look forward to, playing the game. So what we try to do is we try to say to ourselves, we even call it match day, that we try to get the players and themselves to understand that their mentality, their approach, their mental preparation, for me, is a very important part of the game. So when you do that holding of hands, it gets everyone to understand that now it's all of us, and from the non-starters to the starters to maybe some of your players who are a little bit maybe skeptic of it at first. Right. It grows on you. It's grown on me, and you know, sometimes I know because of the setup, the way it is throughout America and places, I know that probably the opponent looks at it, says, and kind of questions what's that all about. But even then, that's good for me, because I think if they question it, that means we got them thinking about us instead of them thinking about what they need to do. And it was interesting that you mentioned that, because every sport has its own little mental approaches, how players address and warm up and conduct the game. And I think that's always an important part. I think just getting your team to really be mentally ready for it. I'm a big believer in that fourth component of soccer. There's four simple ones that haven't changed, the pillars in all my years of coaching. It's obviously the physical part, the conditioning, the fitness, the technical part, the tactical, and then I think the psychological part is a major one that no one really addresses, no one really deals with, and we deal with that quite extensively in my coaching.
Okay, so and the proof is in the pudding, as they say. The University of Redlands has won the SCIAC Championship 9 out of the last 10 years. So obviously that's part of the formula for success there, and it definitely works when they arrive on the field like that. I try to tell my players to ignore it. As Ralph said, now we're thinking about how they're entering the field, and we came up with our own kind of version as well. But yes, it's very important. You can call it getting your game face on, or in the zone, or whatever it takes for your team. But make sure you have a system, so that once it's game day, match day, showtime, whatever you want to call it, that your players know that they're there to do a job. And if it needs something like holding hands as you walk on the field, that's great. If it's music in the locker room, if it's one of your crazy players getting the team pumped up, whatever it takes, make sure that when that 2-minute buzzer goes when you're walking on the field, that your guys are ready. So that's good stuff. So I've coached against Ralph 9 or 10 times now, and his team has a very specific style of play. The penny finally dropped our last away game against Redlands, and I could actually kind of see the moves coming, and it was coordinated. It was very, very impressive. The first few times I coached against Ralph, I was scratching my head thinking, now what are they doing here? But there's a specific style to how his teams play. Can you tell me a little bit, Ralph, how you developed that? Is it a lot of chalk and talk? Is it a lot of video? Is it a lot of shadow play? How have you come up with that specific style?
Well, I think it's everything you just said, Paul, and thank you for the compliment, because what we have found in our league, which I think is a tremendous league, well-coached league, fantastic league for college players at the Division III level. They're all competitive games, and everybody's gotten better in our conference and has made it very difficult. Yeah. But I think one of the things that we do is, I think we do shadow play, we do what I call pattern play, we do things on the board, we also do a lot of video. We video every game, home and away, and then it's my job and my assistant's job to break down a 90-minute game into about a 12-15 minutes thing that we feel is important, whatever it is in that game, right, wrong, or indifferent, to paint a picture for the players. We require the players to come by the office and watch the game, as well after.
You watch the whole 90 minutes, or just a bit?
We just ask them to watch whatever time commitment they can make to it. Some are very diligent about it. Some are not so diligent. Some of them, after 2 weeks in the season, have to say, "Hey, haven't seen you in the office. I guess you have a very good memory that you can recall the game vividly." Right. But we always have every Friday evening a video session with the players that we will show 2 matches of our last 2 games to the players and edit it, and then we'll use that time to really make it clear to them what we're doing wrong, what we need to improve upon. And the video obviously is a beautiful mechanism because it doesn't lie, and it spells it out ideally what we want. We do it for a psychological point as well. We always try to splice it with some things that are not good, some things that are good, and then some things we want to improve on. And then also in that 45-minute session, I try to keep it within that 45 minutes. We always try to do something that I put together from a psychological side, whether it's something of a video professionally done or a video that we create. So we're trying to always get into players' heads. We try to get into them with some of the things that we have in our locker room and the boards, the things that we hand out to them from the mental side of the game. And that really stems from me all the way back to high school, because of my basketball coach in high school was a gentleman that was way ahead of the times on that whole psycho-cybernetic type of coaching and teaching. So I believe in it. I feel it works. It takes a while to get the young lads to buy into it, but I think we've been fortunate in the sense that I think Friday night works well for us, just because it also is a good time to, after training, have them go shower, eat, and then come back. Right.
That's a good one. That's a great tip right there. If nothing else from this interview today, there's something for you there. Get the night before a game, put some video together, get your players together, and it's all part of preparing them. So that's good stuff there.